Lesson 3. Hashim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma akhrijna min zulumatil wahm wa akrimna binuril fahm. Allahumma aftah alayna abwaba rahmatik wanshur alayna khazaina ulumik birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Welcome to Lesson 3 about Hashim ibn Abdul Manaf of Module 1 about the pre-prophetic period on the siratunnabi course. In the previous lesson about the children of Ismail alayhi salam, part 2, we have learned that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam had brought his eldest son Ismail with his mother Hajira or Hajar from Canaan to a barren valley which was later known as Mecca. And the Ismailites who came from the 12 sons of Ismail by and by spread all over Hijaz. In the 5th century of the Common Era, a very powerful personality appeared from among the Ismailites. We are referring to Qusay or Qusay, who established many new institutions in Mecca. After Qusay, the 6 responsibilities connected to these new institutions were shared by his 2 sons, Abdul Dar and Abdul Manaf. And after the death of Abdul Dar and Abdul Manaf, a dispute started between their children concerning the distribution of the 6 responsibilities. Hashim's name will always shine in the history of Arabia and Islam, not only because he was the great-grandfather of the Holy Prophet, but in his own right because of his tremendous achievements. He may well be compared with any great leader of his time. He was the most generous, the most prestigious, and the most respected leader of the Quraysh during that period. He used to feed the pilgrims during Hajj with royal open-handedness. But the best testimonial to his benevolence is his title Hashim, whereby he came to be known. Once there was a great famine in Mecca, and he could not look silently at the sorry plight of the Meccans. What he did was that he took all his wealth, went to Syria, purchased flour and dried bread, brought it to Mecca, and daily slaughtered his camels for gravy. And the bread and the biscuits were broken into gravy, and the whole tribe was invited to partake of it. And this continued till the famine was averted, and all the lives were saved. It was this extraordinary feat that earned him the name Hashim, which means the one who breaks the bread. Actually, Hashim's real name was Amr. So it means to say Hashim was a title which became even more popular than his actual name. Hashim was actually the founder of the trade caravans of the Quraysh. He obtained an edict from the Byzantine emperor which exempted Quraysh from all kinds of duties or taxes when entering or leaving the countries under his domain. He also obtained the same concession from the emperor of Ethiopia. Therefore, the Hashemites started taking their trade caravans in winter to Yemen, which was under the Ethiopian rule, and in the summer to Syria beyond up to Ankara under the Byzantine rule. So here we can see in the map, Makkah is in between Syria and Yemen. Here is Yemen. What you can see there, read is Sabah. So from here, from Makkah, he would pass by Yathrib. Yathrib was the old name of Medina. And then he would engage in trade in Syria during the time of summer. Why summer? Because in the northern pole, or the more you are in the north, it would become cooler. And during winter, he would go to Yemen. The practical reason for that is that Yemen can be located in the southern part of Mecca. So to go there during winter would be better because the climate there is expected to be warmer. So you can also see here Gaza, what we now known as the occupied Palestine, because later on we will know that Hashim passed away while he was in Gaza, or in fact where he was buried. During that time, Syria was under the Byzantine Empire. If you can recall in history, in world history, Byzantine Empire was the eastern part of the Roman Empire, while Yemen during that time was under the Abyssinian or Ethiopian Empire. So here is the Red Sea, which divides Ethiopia or Abyssinia and Yemen. So take note of this map. But the trade routes were not safe. So what Hashim did was he visited all the dominant tribes between Yemen and Ankara and entered into agreements with all of them. So we can see here that Hashim was not only an expert trader, but also a diplomat in his own right. So these leaders agreed that they would not attack the trade caravans of Quraysh, and Hashim undertook on behalf of Quraysh that their trade caravans would bring all their necessities to their places of abode and would buy and sell at reasonable prices. So it became a win-win solution to both the traders as well as the tribes along the trade routes from Syria to Yemen. Thus, in spite of all the looting and plundering that prevailed in Arabia then, the jade caravans of Quraysh were always safe. It was to this achievement of Hashim that Allah Ta'ala refers in the Quran, counting it as a great bounty of God upon Quraysh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. For the security and safeguard enjoyed by the Quraysh, their safety during their journeys by winter and by summer, let them worship the Lord of this house, who provides them with food against hunger and with security against fear. In addition to that feat of Hashim, I am referring to his founding of the trade caravans of the Quraysh from Syria to Yemen. There was another one which was connected with what we call ihtifad. There was a pathetically pessimistic tradition in Quraysh known as ihtifad. When a poor family could not feed itself, it would go out to the desert and, entering a tent, remain there till death claimed all of its members one by one. They thought that nobody would know of their plight, and thus starving to death, and by thus starving to death, they would protect their honor. It was Hashim who persuaded Quraysh to actively combat the poverty instead of succumbing to it. What was his scheme or plan of action? He would join one rich person with a poor one, provided that their dependents are equal in number. That poor person was to help the rich one during the trade journey, and whatever increase of capital accrued by way of profit would be shared equally by both, meaning the rich and the poor partner. So in this way, there would be no need for ihtifad because the poor could be able to feed the family that they have, whereas the rich could have a helper in their trade journey either to Syria or Yemen or both. So this scheme was wholeheartedly accepted and put into effect by the tribe. This wise suggestion not only removed poverty from the Quraysh, but also created a feeling of brotherhood and unity among them. And these achievements were enough to justify a very long life. But our wonder knows no bounds when we learn that Hashim was only 25 years old when death overtook him at Gaza, Palestine in approximately 488 Common Era. In fact, his grave is preserved up to this very day. And Gaza is also called Gaza to Hashim, which means Hashim's Gaza. Hashim, according to history, was very handsome, and because of his looks and prestige, many chiefs and even rulers wanted him to marry their daughters. But he married Salma, daughter of Amr, from the tribe of Adi Bani Najjar of Yathrib. Yathrib was the old name of Medina. Salma was the mother of Shaybatul Hamd. Shaybatul Hamd is commonly known as Abdul Muttalib, who was in his infancy when Hashim died. So next meeting for our lesson 4, we will deal with the son of the only surviving or the only child of Hashim. I am referring to Abdul Muttalib. So for more similar lessons, subscribe to Wayfaring with Mansoor channel. And thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.